Did you know that you could be filled with a glorious, awesome power? A power that resides in the inner recesses of your being, but which is hidden to your mind? Actually, this glorious power exists in all human beings. But because of something that happened in the distant past of our history, our minds have been veiled to this glorious power and life that exists within us. I'm here to open up the reality of this glorious power to us. A power which will transform you on the inside completely. That will cause your heart to be made whole. That will cause you to walk in joy. That will cause you to walk in peace. That will cause you to find fullness of love within yourself and to become a manifestation of love, completely transformed by the power of love. And not just love in the sense of a nice idea, but a substantial power which has its foundation and root in the actual divine nature. And this power is hidden deep within us. There is a veil covering our minds which blinds us to the reality of this. Today we're going to pull back the veil and experience this glorious power. The source of this power is found in a gift which God has given, which many of us are unaware of. But it doesn't need to stay that way. We can have our awareness opened up. We can have our consciousness enlightened. We can have our hearts enlightened to this glorious gift which God has given to us. This gift is with every human being on the face of the earth. Good, bad, makes no difference. This gift is given to us. What we need is our awareness raised up to a higher level in order that we would see what we actually possess in reality. In the current time, our consciousness is oppressed, where we're not able to see the truth of who we are, and it's in this oppression we live in a poverty-stricken state of mind, internally bankrupt, in a sense of separation, always striving and fighting to get to that place where we will be rich and successful, loved and accepted. But that's not reality. When you have your eyes opened to the gift which you have been given and which is always with you, you then can see in your experience, not just in mental assent, but in your living experience, you then see and understand how deeply loved you are, how accepted you are, how rich you are, because you're living from spiritual riches which reside within you. And this is the destiny for all mankind, for their eyes to be opened, for the curtain of their mind to be pulled apart, pulled aside, in order to see the wealth which they possess. And it's in the gift which God has given us that this wealth exists. And it is a gift. It's pure, unconditional life. And the problem with the mind is the mind of man currently operates on a conditional mindset with conditions. It's not unconditional, it's conditional in the mind of man. The mind of man tells human beings, if you do this, then you'll deserve it. That's a lie. You've been given it without you doing anything. And it's from you understanding your identity. It's from the place of you understanding the wealth that you already possess that your mind is liberated for you to live to the fullest extent and experience love in its fullest form from deep within you, where it satisfies your heart with the richest of fare. Where your heart is saturated in love flowing from this wonderful gift that you possess. And that's what we're about here. We're about opening people's minds and hearts and making them aware. So how do you access this glorious gift, which you already possess, which seems to be hidden from your experience because of the mindset which says you don't deserve it. You need to fulfill these certain conditions in order to receive and experience this wealth. Actually, there's only one condition, and that is to accept that it is yours. And in this place of you accepting, you can then acknowledge it. And in the place of acknowledgement, you can believe it. You can place faith in it. Because whether or not you believe it, if you don't believe it, or if you do believe it, it's still something that belongs to you. It's like a man who has inherited great wealth, but he doesn't know that he's inherited it. He's got £100 million or US dollars in his account, left to him by his rich auntie, but he doesn't know that he's inherited that money, and he still thinks he's poor. The initial point is to accept this gift. To accept that it is already, to accept that you already have it, and acknowledge it, even if you don't experience it. But accept it and acknowledge that it is yours, and from this place, believe that you possess it. Because as you accept that it's yours, as you acknowledge it, as you believe that it's in your possession, your consciousness is raised, your awareness is opened for you to begin to understand and appreciate and experience the reality of who you really are in the deepest recesses of your being, where this glorious gift resides. And it's from the deepest recesses of your being, where this glorious gift resides, that the outer display of the glorious universe, where you see star systems innumerable, and the vast expanses of space with galaxies innumerable that no one can count or no one can really measure, that you're seeing a reflection or a projection of the glorious gift that you possess, the vast riches and innumerable wealth of God, which you contain in the deep inner recesses of your being. As you accept this gift, as you acknowledge this gift, as you believe in this gift, the unlimited resources of love and joy and substantial peace erupt within your inner being, start bubbling up within you for you to experience the pure, dynamic, living water of life. Jesus said at some point back in human history that the one who believes in him, out of his innermost being shall flow rivers of living water. That's the release of power, where rivers start to flow out of your inner being, and you start to experience the unlimited resources of the pure gift of God, which you already possess. And it is receiving the gift unconditionally. And God has given us this message, and in this message, God has hidden himself, his very life, his very nature. And as we accept his word of truth, that we are loved, that we are accepted, and that he's given us himself, that he is with us. We mightn't be able to see it with the natural eye, But something in our hearts, the innate inner deep consciousness that speaks within us, tells us the truth that God is present. And when we look at the awesome wonder of the universe, the vast expanses of galaxies and stars, suns, resources beyond our wildest imaginations, this shows us, firstly, that we are small in our finite bodily selves. And this is showing us that actually we need to be connected to something greater. Our source, much greater, much vaster. Our source comes from the divine hand of God, which fills us. This divine flow and life that comes from God is transformative. It will transform you internally. It will transform you and cause your heart to walk in wholeness and completeness and fullness. And it will fill you with so much love that you're not dependent on your outer circumstances, but rather you become a projector of love, causing others to be made whole and to receive of your generosity. And in them receiving, then they are able to reflect back to you and project back to you. See, currently what's happening in the world is people are functioning on a deficit. They're functioning in debt. I'm not just talking about monetary debt, which the world obviously does function in. Every country on the earth is deep in debt. Every country. But I'm not talking about that kind of debt, actual monetary debt. I'm talking about the debt and the deficit that exists inside the hearts and the spirits and the souls and the internal makeup of human beings. And they cannot fill that debt. They cannot break free of that debt. Billionaire with vast wealth and financial resources. You're still in a deficit without this life. You're still in debt, heavily in debt, without this glorious life manifest within you, where this glorious power is made manifest within you. The fullness of life made manifest within you. Jesus Christ was more than just a man. He was just a man, true, but he was also a manifestation of God himself. So Jesus revealed himself as God, but also as fully man, in identifying with us and enabling us to come into reconciliation and come into this union where we experience this power. He exchanged himself, his full divine nature, for our deficit, our inner corrupt, bankrupt deficit, in order that we would receive the fullness of life that is revealed in him. And we have that fullness now. It's a matter of acknowledging it and believing it. That's the message, that God has given us himself in the man Jesus Christ. And this is a spiritual reality. This is not just a myth or a nice idea or a nice thought. This is actually a current spiritual reality. There is glorious, eternal power present right now, where you are, where I am, and in the entire globe, which is our inheritance, and we can now access because of the unconditional love of God. God is not holding this against us, our mistakes, our failures against us, and therefore shutting us out. No, he's opened the door through the man Jesus, because Jesus took the weakness and the bankrupt nature of humanity into himself when he died on the cross. But because he wasn't bankrupt in himself, Jesus was the full manifestation of the Father. Jesus had a full, complete, perfect divine nature, as well as being a weak human being. And when he absorbed humanity's bankrupt nature into himself, in his divine nature, he rose out of the realm of death, conquering death itself, and providing for us the door, where we acknowledge, yes, our bankrupt nature has been placed on him, and we can now walk in a new nature. You see, you have got a new nature, a brand new glorious nature. You may not be able to see it with your eyes, you may not be experiencing it right this moment, but you have it. You've got it. It's with you, although your eyes might be veiled to it. But as you hear this message, accept it, believe it, allow your heart and mind to meditate on it. Don't meditate on the bad news media of the world, which is always pumping our hearts full of fear and ideas of destruction, that we're all going to die, we're all doomed from this virus and these terrorists and this potential war. No, look beyond and allow yourself to see the glorious life of God which is present with you. And God will release this glorious power within you and is already in you in the deepest recesses of your being. And the deepest recesses of your being will be awakened as you accept the message that you have been made whole. You have been made rich because Jesus took your bankrupt nature and gave you his divine nature. This is God's gift to humanity. This is what God did in the man, Jesus Christ, because God was in the man, Jesus Christ, demonstrating his love for us, dying our death and rising in newness of life, that we would experience pure life. You see, life isn't about living now and then somewhere we're going to die, waiting to die. Life is about realizing that we are living and we have life in the man Jesus. And his divine nature is our nature. And therefore we can now walk in his nature, not waiting to die, but realizing life in him. Realizing that death has already taken place. Because he died in our place. The penalty has been paid in full. And we are now free to live in fullness of life because we have got resurrection life. And this power, this resurrection life, is a transformative, glorious power. And it's present with you and it's in. Accept it, acknowledge it, believe it, and you will access it because it is your life. Not the false construct of the imposed, conditioned mindset that tries to tell you who you are, that comes from the outer world. No, your true world manifests from deep within you, in the inner recesses of your being, your inner being, where the gift of God dwells.